Good morning, everybody. This is the newest victim, I should say, the newest the newest addition to the series on how I changed my life. I'd like you to meet Krista, and she's going by the screen name Radical Angel today. Radical Angel, that's kind of interesting. But tell the viewers a little bit about why you thought that this participating in this series would be something that you should do because you have the story that you want to share. What's going on?
Namely because I feel that it's really important to help other women. And I know that we pretty much go through very similar things and problems. And when one of us can break out of it, I think that we should help alert others how to get out of it. And you're a huge inspiration to me. So I was just like, get right on it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, give us a little background on you and, how you found the channel and things like that. What was motivating you?
I found your channel early last year, believe it or not, around the trans issues.
Ah,
Yep. Yeah, because I've been sort of arguing around that issue for several years now. And I found you that way, and then I just got hooked on your videos. I was like, this woman is like to save people's souls. So you were doing incredible work. So I've just been sort of, watching your videos for the past couple of years now. I go to as many live chats as possible, all of your Tuesday and Thursday shows. I'm there all the time. I just love it. I love your squad.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get started with the real dirt, the real questions. So you had some issues that you thought, that you resolved that you wanted to share with the listeners. Do you want to go into maybe a couple of those? What were the problems that you were suffering that you had to resolve for yourself?
The main one was relationships with men, relationships with myself. So those were the two main motivators. And I was failing at relationships, mainly because I didn't have one with myself, as it turns out.
How did that happen?
So it was through a series of events. Mostly it was, the catalyst was that I was raped in my early 40s, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that,
Yeah,
Krista.
it was a hideous, you know how you can have terrible experiences in the dating world where you kind of regret them?
Yeah.
Okay, that's different. That's different. So it was a real turning point. It forced me to look at what I was doing, the choices I was making, right down to how I was going to handle healing from that. And it really made me identify with basically everyone else who had gone through it, because I never considered that it happens like that. It happens in an instant.
Right.
You say no 5, 10, 15 times, and I actually had an outer body experience, and I was meditating, for years before this. I was doing yoga. So I think just a lot of things happened at once where it was a catalyst to make me slow down and pay attention. It scared
Okay.
me. Yeah.
I bet. I mean, it sounds scary just hearing about it.
Yeah.
But you sound like you put it in good perspective. So, I'm just sitting here, it's like, God, this chick is tough.
Love, yeah.
She's a toughie. Okay, so that was the relationship with yourself. And what kind of things were you struggling with in relation to men?
Picking terribly abusive men and not really ever examining why. And just basically repeating what I watched my parents do. Right?
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to get to that. Where did this idea that this is the kind of guy you should choose come from? So that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
What was their relationship like?
It's just very, I consider it abusive, but to them it's very normal. See, they've been together for 50 years, and
Oh my God.
Right. So it's normal. That's their normal. So I'm strange for pointing out any problems there. But it's very masculine, feminine. Their roles are very tightly defined. It's also an interracial marriage. So my dad is Arabic, my mom is Newfoundlander. So there could be some cultural clashes there. They're both Christian. So they're just very tightly wound. And while I believed I mentally broke away from that, and I did in pretty much every other area of my life, when it came to relationships, it was, again, it was like a mirroring effect. I was playing a role all the time. And I was always trying to change myself, you know? And you spoke about that in your last video on Thursday. You're like, we always try, it's always up. We have to make the relationship work. We have to fight for the relationship. We have to please the man, okay? So that was an unconscious mirroring effect of mine for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So were you were raised as a Christian then,
Yeah.
as a child? Okay.
I was, yeah.
And were they a very devout? I mean, like going to church multiple times a week and that kind of thing?
Well, every Sunday, and you know, we did all the normal things, the church camp, and I was a choir girl, I was an altar girl, like we were in it. Definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, they go, I wouldn't say multiple times a week, but definitely once a week, and it's a big part of their lives. Yeah.
So in your change to change your habits and your picker, what did you do?
When it came to men,
Yeah, let's start there. Well, how did you, because that's, I mean, you know, I want to keep them separate because it's two very, very powerful and very different changes that you had to make. I guess they all tie together in the end, but let's just break it apart. Because I think a lot of women, as we've heard from the series I've already put up, each
right.
one of those has struggled with the shackles of religion
Yeah.
on her choices and lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you know, was looking at that, it evidently has a big impact. I'm not religious at all, so that I never had to deal with that. But you know, I appreciate women who did it. I appreciate the fact that you had the strength to find your way out of it. So let's start with the aspect of what you did, what mental changes you made to break away from those patterns that you were struggling with in the relationships. What steps did you take?
I think the first major one was helping others. Believe it or not, it sounds like it doesn't belong in learning to love yourself or learning to get well, but it really does help to get you out of your own crap.
Mm-hmm.
And help someone else. The other part was yoga and meditation. So I made a decision that I wanted to feel good. And that was it. You know, I wanted to feel good. I didn't want to feel bad about myself anymore. I didn't want to, you know, that self-narrative, the voice in your head. I didn't want to put myself down anymore. I saw other people doing well. I'm like, they seem to be functioning. So they seem to love themselves. So I knew it was possible. So I thought, you know, I'll give this a try. It's free. So I do it at home. I just do it from, I listen to Louise Hay. To this day, I still listen to her. She's like a self-help. She just helps up the narrative in your head so you can speak kindly to yourself. And then meditation, I just do a guided meditation. So it's free and it's pretty easy. Those were the major themes. Loving myself, yeah. Learning how to love.
So now when you see, so let's just say you meet a guy.
Okay.
And, you know, you're in the check him out process. And he starts showing some interesting behaviors. How do you handle it? What do you do in those situations?
I just jet. Just
yeah, girl.
No time. And I the reason why I'm more confident doing that is because of people like you. You're just like, you don't have time. Who has time for this? Why would I try to figure it out? What did he mean? Where is this going? Like, just, no, it doesn't mesh. I don't have to do anything. It doesn't mesh. I just leave.
Ooh, honey, testify. No, I mean, it's very true. You know, I just wish more women could see that it's possible and that they don't owe these men crap. You don't owe them just nothing, not even 1 second of your time. And, you know, you look very happy and at peace. I mean, it's like in your eyes. You know, that's one thing. It's like, yeah, people get a different gaze when they've come to some self-acceptance. They don't have that like needy, hungry look that you see a lot of women walking around with.
Well,
Oh,
that's
good
an
for you.
excellent point. That's an excellent point. That sense of validation, external validation, especially from people. I think this is, I don't know how much of this is socialization and how much of it is just natural for women or the human condition. We want to be liked. I mean, I think that's normal.
Right.
But validation is very different, right? You got to validate yourself. You got to make yourself happy, make yourself feel good, pick yourself up when times are hard, that type of stuff. And then I think you can meet your match, someone else who's doing that. And now you know you have someone as strong as you are instead of someone to look after, right? Or someone to look after you.
Right. You go into the relationship as two whole people instead of two broken, taped together pieces of people. All right. So let's talk then about your, the change away from religion. Has it affected your relationship with your parents at all?
Yeah, I mean, I left the church when I was a teenager, and I actually started reading about a bunch of other religions just to compare them, because I hadn't been exposed to them. So Buddhism, Wicca, Hindu. I read about everything. I read about the occult in general, and it wasn't my cup of tea at all. So I just went off in my own way. But Deborah, when I was a youth, I was a very, very troubled kid. Okay. Super troubled. I recognize now, after, putting myself in therapy, for example, and facing the issue, I actually rejected a person in my family who sexually abused me as a child. So I was a really messed up teenager. I was on a lot of drugs. I actually started prostituting myself.
Oh, wow.
I did everything I could to try to take myself out of this world because I didn't understand why. And when it's a family member, you're so busy trying to block it out and you're so busy keeping it a secret. It's like it compounds the pain or the sickness. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s before I was having sober sex. So I was a really messed up person. And then one of the first relationships I did end up having was with a really, it was the first person I ever could call evil. And I don't say that lightly. You know how like there's good and evil? There's like psychopathic people who, that's what they do.
Right.
They hurt people and they will never understand. They'll never get well. And that's who I was dating for 3 years. I was with this person for a long time. I lost everything. I lost my job. I had to go on medication. Like this person was terrible. So it was almost like a bunch of little reckonings over the years.
It sounds like it. Like
Yeah.
you had like you were like that game of life. Have you ever played it where you go on the little squares and then you find it I mean, when you were talking, I'm putting all this together. That's the image. It's like she's going along the board.
Yeah.
Wow, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, and I wanted to add something else here too. I am so fortunate to be surrounded by people. My girlfriends are really strong, intelligent, accomplished, whatever that means to you, people. And I think it's really essential to surround yourself with people who are doing well and loving themselves and
Absolutely
right, and make a point, and I make a point of doing that. And I always feel like I am not the smartest person in this room, but the one thing that's smart about me is I know who to surround myself with.
That's it. I mean,
right?
your crew. That's your crew.
Right. And they're all smarter than me. And I think that's important too. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I don't need that on my shoulders.
So tell me, at this point in your life, now that you've come to all these realizations, what brings you joy now?
Ooh. In the simplest terms, what brings me joy is gratitude. I know that sounds simple and overused, but it really is just for the simple things like, and I really do start here, especially if days ever get bad, like clean water, I ate today, I have friends, I've got my health, I have a future, I appreciate life, I'm grateful, nature, animals, like just, and you can get really big with that. You can be, my new diamond ring, like you can get wild with that, or you can keep it simple, but that's the major component, just being thankful, being grateful for another day.
Oh, so it's like positive affirmations.
Sure.
I see. Yeah, I can see where that would make sense. So as most people get in that, oh my God, my life is so awful, and it's just woe is me, that whole thing. And instead, you appreciate what's good about things. So you're putting out positive vibes instead of negative ones.
I like to think so, yeah. And
Yeah.
it helps. It helps. It makes me smile. Honestly, the most joyous thing, if I had to pick like a creature or a person or a place, I would have to say birds. I get really delighted with birds when I see them and hear them. It's very exciting. So maybe that's what someone can do. Like just figure out what brings you joy and then seek that out. Look it up on YouTube. Like keep it in your life. Make it
Hmm.
constant in your life. Don't deny it to yourself,
So when you think about the person that you are now, Krista, what maybe, I don't know, one, two, three things are you the most proud of?
Um, the person I am now, what I'm most proud of, being willing to change, being willing to accept what is, and being willing to let go of what doesn't work anymore, and being willing to change and grow. I don't know if that's a human condition to cling to things or not, but I was really clingy. I didn't want to change. I was even afraid to let go of that person who, abused me as a child. I was terrified. What's the family going to think? Stuff like that. So, I'm pretty proud that I was able to put myself first. And, you say this a lot as well. And I think there's a difference as well. I think when you say put yourself first, it's different than, selfishness or ego.
Right.
It's a love and respect, right? And I separate those two. It's a love and respect.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the struggles that I've had with women who have not let go of these things like you talk about. And they are very upset at the fact that I promote that women put themselves first. And because they feel like that makes them a bad mother, that
Right.
makes them a bad daughter, that makes them a bad human being, a bad employee, a bad wife, if they don't put these other people before themselves.
Right.
And I'm like, even on the airplanes, they tell you as the adult, make sure you get the oxygen on yourself first before
That's
you
right.
get it, because you laying there all dead and stuff. What you gonna do for your child? I mean,
100%.
you know what I
100%.
mean?
Yes, I
It's
do.
that same thing.
Right.
You got to live first before you can help other people live.
100%. Like you, for example, if you were a wreck every day doing these shows or something, I mean, how are we supposed to raise ourselves up if you're struggling? Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, we have to help ourselves out and then help lift other people up.
So, one of the things I just always tell people, my role here is not to save you. My role is to get you to the motivation and understanding and the tools to save yourself. And you still got to do the work. I'm going to tell you everything that you need, and
Right.
it looks like you took it to heart. Yay,
Yeah.
Krista!
I love it. I share it all over my social media. I'm like, we're live tonight. Come join. Like, I want to help anyone I know out too, because you're doing phenomenal work. I hope you know this, and I think you're starting to with those emails that you get, like showing everybody it's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. People tell me you're not a typical Leo, because Leos usually are just like, oh yes, I run the world. Everything's about me. I'm not like that. I mean, I guess I have a certain level of humility. Um, when people write, I appreciate those, and I'm enjoying the love and hearing the stories from these, how you guys changed your life. That that's my reward. Seeing that what I'm here doing is actually working. It's actually
It is.
helping people.
It
You
is.
know, but getting the
Absolutely.
letters is nice too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that never hurts.
Never. So what now? I have to ask you, because I ask everybody this question.
Okay.
When we say living your best life, what does that phrase mean to you?
Setting goals and accomplishing them, just in a nutshell. And that can
Okay.
be a list of chores to do for the day, or a long-term plan, or taking a chance on a dream. you know? Giving yourself a chance to fail is a big deal, toward living your best life. And here's an interesting thing too, and I've heard this from other people before, and I always used to put, pshaw, that doesn't make any sense. But it is true. Like, I had a plan, for example, I went to university, I have a sociology degree, and the motivation behind that was to go to law school. Now, I didn't go to law school, money, time, and as it turns out, my life switched up a little bit, and I have a different trajectory now. But that failure, the failure of that plan, that long-term goal, which was 5 years in the making, for example, is such a blessing now, because now I know what I'm capable of, even though I changed my mind or switched direction. So sometimes failure can be an amazing gift, right? Even including how you pull yourself through it, right?
Exactly.
So
Well,
it can
it's like the only way you only never experience failure if you never try to do anything. You just sit your butt down all the time, and I mean, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. You can't succeed, nor can you fail. So I appreciate people who take a risk.
You
Good
gotta
for
take the risk.
you.
Yes.
Absolutely. So let's talk about going forward. What's what are you trying to do with yourself? What are your big goals, your dreams that you want to make true? What's on your plate, your agenda?
Wow. I want to keep writing, so I'm a writer, and I actually have my own little YouTube channel where I read tarot cards.
Oh, nice.
And I just do that for the public for free. And then I have my own little business here on the side where, people in my area can call me or write me, and I'll read for them in person. So I have some clientele. And that was really inspired. I never thought I'd be doing that, like from law to tarot, right? No,
Yeah, I'm like, that's a head scratcher, but if it works, who am I?
Yeah, it was a real inspired move, and I just went with it. It was, I feel confident and positive doing it. I'm also an activist, so back to the trans thing, I still speak out publicly about trans issues, and what that means essentially. So for anyone listening, what that means is I'm speaking out for women and women's rights.
Right.
And in doing that, discussing the trans debate, I think it's important to discuss that. Volunteerism is really important to me. I've been a vegan activist for almost 20 years now. Children's rights is really important to me now. I think that children just get flicked off to the side a lot.
Man, aren't they getting the cold? They're just getting knifed. It's just terrible.
It's getting worse. It seems to be getting worse with tech. Not that technology is to blame, but I just think people are busier than ever, and they're getting thrown under the bus. So I'm really worried about youth for today. And the environment. So just things that really affect everybody, where everyone can benefit. But women and women's rights is like right at the top of the list. So that's critical for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that, you'd like to share with the people that are watching your video and hearing your wonderful, inspiring story?
I did. I wrote a couple things down so that I wouldn't forget to leave people with this, just because I appreciate you giving me the heads up on what you might be asking. So yeah, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things just because these have really helped me out, and they apply to every situation. So, to thine own self be true. Number 1, try not to consider that selfishness or that you're being mean, and pay attention to the inner dialogue. What are you saying to yourself? And anything that you wouldn't say to someone else, like you're fat, you're ugly, that type of thing, stop saying that to yourself and make it a habit, right? Practice it. Do everything you can to be happy and to bring joy into your life. Just do that. Do that. Because you know what? Look at it altruistically. You're doing it for yourself, but everyone benefits, right? Everyone benefits anyway. Be your own best friend. Use your imagination wisely. So the same amount of energy that goes into creating terrible outcomes or pretend conversations, you can use it to really boost yourself, or to plan for the future, or to brainstorm some cool ideas. And just remember that you can handle anything that comes your way. Trust that you can handle things. And if and when you can't, ask for help. Just ask.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Making
that was a hard
sure.
lesson for me to learn too, but okay, those
Oh
are
yeah,
great.
it's hard, but it's a beautiful thing. And because someone's going to ask you for help, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to help someone else. So let someone else do that for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. Thank you so much for writing in and
Oh my
submitting your
God.
name.
Thank you for writing me back. I'm, I love you to death. I love your work. I think that you're a genius. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thanks for talking with me.
Oh, not a problem at all. I just love it. I'm just surrounded by all these women that are just so inspiring and just so fucking awesome. It's just
Yeah,
unbelievable. So
I love
you
it.
go forth and you do, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
If
you.
you have something that, you think I can help get some word out about an event or whatever, some kind of thing that's going to impact women, just let me know and I'm all over it. Okay?
That's
Because in
awesome.
my
I would.
support. You
I'm
do.
actually doing a meditation series coming up next, so maybe I'll drop you a quick line when that's live.
Yes, do it. Do it.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Thank
this has been
you.
great. I'm going to put this up very, very soon, young lady. So
Awesome.
just wait for the questions and the applause because they're coming.
Okay. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Okay. I'll talk to you real soon, Krista.
Thanks, Deborah, you too. Take
Bye
care.
bye.